Year, like, doesn't have to go great in terms of finding like your future career job, like, so don't feel overwhelming pressure to get an internship your freshman year. I mean, there are opportunities that exist, but it's finding them at SMEF is a very difficult thing to do. It's mostly like sales companies, like where you're working as your own boss kind of thing. So.
Still do leadership. Do they still do a lot of leadership conferences and stuff?
Yeah,
P&G does something like that, right?
For sophomore.
Accounting firms do as well.
Yeah. So sometimes like they'll have like internships that will be for juniors, but then they'll have like a 2 or 3 day retreat for freshmen, and that looks great with the company for a future internship, but also looks good on your resume that you were involved with a large company after your freshman year. So.
Or you sometimes even interview at the conference for the next summer as well.
So has a recruiter ever asked you guys about like, oh, are you going to pursue graduate school after your undergraduate? And how would you also respond to that question if they asked you? Assuming the answer to that question is yes.
So are you saying like you're going straight into an MBA or something like that?
Or law school or something along those lines, yeah.
You ever had that?
I've had, I guess the main question usually I get is graduation date, because there's a lot of different paths that people take. I'm sure Josh has had this experience as well, but main thing is graduation date. Like if you are doing a 1-year master's, like are you looking for an internship or full-time in this upcoming recruitment season, I guess is the biggest question.
I would say for something, you said law school, right?
Yeah, law school.
I would say for law school, you don't necessarily be like, oh yes, I'm 100% going to law school. You say, oh, I'm considering law school, but I'm also looking at different opportunities. Okay. So if it's let's say you're doing an MS in accounting, they'll still talk to you. So, oh yeah, that's only 1 year, but law school is it 3 years, something like that?
Yeah. 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So then you might be just out of the conversation at that point. So you're going to want to basically say, oh, I'm looking at law school, but I also want to look at sales and marketing, if that's who you're talking, job you're looking at right there.
Because that, like, if you are talking to a recruiter, and probably as a freshman it won't impact you as much, but like sophomore, junior, when you're actually being considered for internships, if you start throwing out that I'm going to law school, you can disqualify yourself for a lot of jobs because companies won't be willing to wait 6 years for you to graduate.
Right.
So.
Yeah, who knows, your plans might change by then.
So just keep your resume, like, I know, like, I was possibly doing a spring internship for accounting, but I still kept my graduation date the same because I hadn't confirmed that. And so as a sophomore, that gave me a much better chance of getting an internship for the summer because companies thought I was graduating in May of 18 instead of December, right? So if they would have known I was graduating in December, I probably wouldn't have gotten an internship my sophomore year because it would have been so long until my graduation date. So don't put your resume like in your future plans. Put it like where you are right now.
Do you have any tips on like what the proper body language is when you're like interacting with a recruiter? Kind of like how to create that best first impression?
Well, for one, I would say don't be closed off. So you want to be warm towards them because you're talking to another human being. You're not talking to like a robot or something. So I think that is something that's really important as you're making a good first impression. Also, to be confident in yourself because that's going to say a lot about you. The first impression is made very quickly. So confidence is very important in making that. I don't know if anyone else wants to add on.
I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, don't slouch, keep your shoulders back, smile a little bit, look like you're happy to talk to them. I mean, it's pretty simple.
I would say the big thing is, I mean, that's exactly right, but sometimes you don't even notice that you're slouching or like going like this or hands in the pocket. Just like try to remind yourself every so often, the days leading up to the career fair, to kind of get out of those habits. Like if you ever like realize your arms are crossed, something like that, make sure you uncross them and just make sure you're like have good posture like the days leading up, because kind of getting rid of that habit when you're going into that career fair is helpful.
Be aware of what you're doing while you're waiting in line too, because they can see you, so don't cut people off or like be scrolling through your phone the whole time.
It also helps to like have a portfolio. I don't know if any of you guys have those. It gives you something to hold on to while you're talking to them. It's nice for holding resumes and it just looks nice. Like everyone at the career fair for the most part will have one, but if you have like a folder or something, it might like just give you a slight like mental disadvantage. So it helps to have that. Also give them distance. know sometimes it can be really loud in there, but like I've had a situation where I was way too close to a recruiter when I was talking to them because I thought they couldn't hear me, and they were just like, "Can you please back up?"
And then they push me.
I mean, it still worked out okay, but I did get. I mean, but I'm just saying, give them some space. They can hear you. It's fine. Just be loud.
Power move.
Yeah, it was. It was coming, so you know they have like a giant line. They're just like, I don't want to talk to anyone else anymore. But yeah, smile.
Oh yeah, I guess that's good.
Love to see friendly faces.
I guess something else none of us said was have a good handshake. Because I get a first impression from the recruiter based on their handshake. So I know that they get one from me as well. So just make sure that that is firm and short and nothing weird.
So like after an internship, like what's the typical timeline? Like if they want you to come back, if they don't want you to come back, when do you typically hear? How does that post-internship process kind of work?
I mean, I would say it's pretty variable for every company. So some will tell you while you're still an intern, some will be a month, 2 weeks, 6 months. So it really depends. I don't know if anyone has anything more specific.
They'll be clear with. They won't be.
Yeah, they'll tell you when you'll know. Like they won't just like keep you in like limbo for 3 months, not knowing if you'll get an email tomorrow for another offer or something.
And if you like let's say you intern somewhere and then you turn that one down and go somewhere else, I assume then for the company you previously interned at, it's dead, right? Like you turned it down.
I would say for that summer, like for that internship you turned down, it is. But if you say no on like good terms, you could potentially come back the next year for the next summer full time.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And that's what happened to me. Like I interned with AM General for my freshman year, interned with Mercedes sophomore year, and then came back to AM General junior year. So you can definitely make that work. Just make a good impression. Don't burn any bridges.
Right.
Just keep in contact.
Okay.
That's the best way you can do it.
So one more question.
I have one more. So, what will be one thing you wish you could go back and change about your experience at either a career fair or at an interview?
There's probably a lot. So. Yeah, go for it.
So I would say for me, like looking back, just preparation is really important. You know, a lot of the times I would tell myself like I'm gonna practice my elevator pitch. I'm gonna obviously you go over your resume, but I'm gonna do a lot of research on the companies. And there were times that I didn't do that. So like I wish I would have been more prepared for the jobs that I wanted, because you're competing with great students at Purdue, and a lot of companies are only taking 2 or 3 interns from Purdue. So, right, if you want to be at that company, you need to know as much about them as you can and be prepared to customize your elevator pitch or your resume and really put in that extra effort to make sure that you can build that relationship with that company, because they'll notice if they are your number one company, they will notice that if you put in that effort.
Yeah, and I think going off of that is knowing for those you can't do this for every company. It'd be nice if you could, but knowing about the positions they're recruiting for and what the different variables are. So I was interviewing with a company that had 2 positions open, and I hadn't necessarily made my decision which one I wanted more or anything like that, but I got a call and it was 9 in the morning, wasn't really even awake yet. And they're like, which one do you want to interview for? And I just chose one because I panicked, I don't, they need to know I'm passionate about one of them, so I have to choose one. And chose one that they were only hiring 2 people, where the other one was hiring 12 or 13 people out of Purdue. So it's one of those things where I may not have gotten either job, but if I would have been able to be more prepared, okay, at the end of the day, this is the job that I have a better chance with. If I have to make that decision, I'm going to do this. And then when that 8, 9 a.m. call, especially when there's different time zones, you'll get calls at potentially weird times, and you have to know to make that decision so you don't either pause and are awkward for 3 minutes or make the wrong decision. So I'd say definitely just for those top 5, know exactly what your like check down is on like the different aspects, like, and same with like locations and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, panelists. Can we give them a round? Okay, so now it's lunchtime. We have